Hi, he's Ricky Sherwood.
And he's Dave Adams.
And you're watching the Core Mechanic.
Today we're looking at number 60 on Mike's list, Ascension. Ascension was designed by John Fiorillo and Justin Gary and published in 2010 by Stoneblade Entertainment. It plays between 2 to 4 players with an average playtime of about 30 minutes. Ascension was nominated for multiple awards during 2010 and 2011 and has formed an extremely loyal fan base.
I think one of the things to take away from Ascension is the development in the mechanics from Dominion. Dominion has, and we mentioned it in the video, an entirely known element to the game. It's all known information. Whereas in Ascension, they take that pool of cards and they put it into one pile and put it into a river or a drafting column, which you can take cards from, but it's randomized.
Yeah.
So there's no guarantee, of what cards you're going to get. There's no guarantee of being able to build any specific mechanic. And there's no guarantee that you can build a mechanic around a specific type of card simply because you can't be guaranteed to get all of the type in that particular set.
Yeah. Which means that you don't have the opportunity to formulate a strategy right from the beginning. In fact, the strategies that you develop are more reactionary, a little more tactile, if you will.
Yeah, whereas Dominion is purely strategy, I feel.
Yeah.
The only tactics you can employ are what you get in your hand, whereas the tactics you employ in Ascension do become part of the drafting itself.
Yeah.
Like, you have to be flexible. You have to see a way through almost what's provided to you in the pool of selection.
Yeah.
And what's provided is really clear, though. They've done a lot to try and help you as a player know what it is that's available through the different colors selections that you can choose from.
Yeah.
I mean, in terms of when you're building your sets, what are some of the key cards that you look for?
Yeah. If you're looking for cards that will help you draw or help you pay for more, usually green will be your go-to color. But if you're looking for cards that will just outright destroy, purple is probably more your thing. Yeah,
and I think the game really pushes you towards having a mixed variety deck. Like, you can't just rely on one color or one strategy. And I think they perhaps intuitively knew that wouldn't be the case, because you could get a pool of cards available which have no green in it. And so the idea of trying to build a green strategy is ridiculous, and you just sit there waiting for a green card to come up. You can't do that.
Yeah.
The other thing I think they add into that, which I really like, I think it really builds into why you would be trying to get cards that are outside of your strategy, is the fact that cards come with victory points themselves.
Yeah.
So whereas in Dominion you're purchasing victory points to try
clogging up your
hand with it. Yeah, this is a much more free-flowing game.
Yeah.
Whereas your victory points don't go into your hand.
No.
Every time you purchase a card or when you attack a monster from the center row, you get victory points, but it doesn't clog up your hand.
Yeah.
The cards you draft are all usable. You can use all of them.
Yeah. So in this way, it's a lot more streamlined than Dominion was. Cards you purchase that you invest in, those resources can still help you win the game, even if they're not doing the primary way of getting victory points, which is killing creatures for the most part. Another thing that Ascension does is it rarely focuses on that comboing or interactive mechanic, in that you're not just playing a single card per turn, you're splaying out your hand. Everything that you've invested in, 5 of those cards are going to come up, and this can lead to absolutely massive turns, which is a lot of fun.
Absolutely. And I was going to say that exact same thing. Very fun turns too. I almost sense that these Dominion was made by a guy who loved Magic. Ascension was made by 2 Pro Circuit Tour guys, like guys who knew everything about Magic. They were deeply invested in it. And I just get that feeling almost like these are guys who love the whole card drafting mechanic a lot. It's a part of their DNA. It's what they love about Magic. And then they just sought to create a game that took out all the unfun parts.
Yeah.
So, in Magic you can get mana clogged, which is a real downer where all you're doing is just drawing mana.
Yeah.
Or you can't play your cards because you don't have any mana. those sorts of things become a real issue, but they've gotten rid of all that.
Yep.
Every card is played. Once you've purchased it, you can play it, and you get the full effect, full benefits. And it's really fun. Like your hand, your ability to rotate through your hand, your draw engines come into effect, your deck thinning comes into effect. You know, you've got the structure cards, which all build up and add on value every turn. You sit there and you add it all up, and it's, yeah. Oh.
Yep. There's a lot of comboing, a lot of strategies that are available within the deck. Whether or not you see them during the game is neither here nor there. Every card has a purpose, basically, but they just all link together really nicely. Another good thing is that, unlike most collectible card games, you won't necessarily have to break the bank in order to have a really good 4-player experience, because
Absolutely not.
all your cards come straight in the base box, and any expansions that you might elect to purchase.
Yeah, I mean, and the best part is, I think the thing that they did well, or their decision, I don't know if it was intentional, but they've certainly stuck with it, is that every expansion is a self-contained game. So they introduce new mechanics, they introduce new ways of playing, new styles of playing, new cards, but you don't need to have any of the previous sets to play it. I think Dominion started to do some of that. It's released new base sets that can play as expansions, but from the get-go, Ascension just had that as part of their drive. Like every expansion was its own game, and I think that's paid off in the end, because it means that at any point I can step into the game and I've got a fully contained game, which I don't need to worry about whether, you know, if I've got the latest set, it's going to be a full game for me.
Yeah. Now, having said that, it's not going to be as easy to pick up right off the bat like Dominion is. There's a lot more text to go through. There's a lot more concepts to understand.
That's right. And they
destroying, discarding,
that's right,
removing, stuff like that.
And of course, they actually start to bring in those mechanics which are popular in Magic as well, using the graveyard, using an out of play zone. You know, you can get rid of cards from the game, which didn't. You know, like they start to bring in those magic elements, as well as the theme, I think.
Yeah.
You know, like Dominion went with a civ, you know, you're a civ builder, essentially.
Yeah.
You're building a kingdom. And these guys went with high fantasy sort of stuff. So, you know, that...
Or high tech as well, as the case may be. But yes, sort of higher concepts that, you know, your fantasy or sci-fi fan would be very easy to get into. But maybe your base player might look at it and just immediately think it's not their cup of tea.
Yeah.
Having said that, I'm also going to go out there and say that Ascension is probably an excellent gateway game from getting people from more simplistic fare into something really advanced like a CCG.
Well, that's an interesting use of the term gateway. I've always used gateway only for getting people into the hobby. I've never thought about different gateway levels where... Yeah. You've played Dominion, here's a gateway game into something more complex.
And then once, because people do tend to get a taste for this sort of thing, especially if a game goes really, really well, and maybe they'll start looking at more advanced fare.
Oh, for sure. I just think it's an excellent introduction to how cards interact with, in terms of like Magic the Gathering, like playing those sorts of games.
And how strategies can come out, and how you can start planning around those sorts of things. You might not see every card that you particularly want, but when a good card does come out and you know that you've bought something 2 or 3 turns ago that'll work really well with that card and you can afford it, boom.
Absolutely. And the thing I think that works well in terms of as an introduction, like you're talking about gateway game, but it's the fact that it's not directly competitive. And even Dominion had this as an element to it. Like more modern games tend to work on the peak player versus player sort of aspect. It's almost collaborative. Like you're taking on the demons that come into the central row, but it's competitive in that you're almost competing to be the one to take them down. You know, it's almost like who can collect the most scalps. Yeah. Almost. So there's that. It is competitive.
But it's not abrasive.
It's not abrasive. It's not directly competitive. I'm not attacking you in any way. Yeah. And in fact, none of the cards I play really impact you until much later sets where, and even then it's not really me playing cards that hinder you in any way. It's just part of the game.
So it's good that a player can just focus on what they're doing. They can focus on their own strategy and not have to worry about any take-that elements for the most part. Well, why is it on the list? I mean, we already have Dominion.
Yeah, well, I mean, Mike actually notes this game as being the game that he's played more than any other game. At some point, because of the app, I think is one of the main reasons this game is so popular, is that not only is it a great base game to have in cards, and I'd say I've played it primarily as an app.
As have I, yep.
And usually it's really well set up. You can play one-on-one, you can buy the sets as they come out. Don't
have to worry about running out of tokens.
Absolutely, and once you're done with the AI, you can play online with others, just taking your turns as you need them. And they don't need to be online at that time to play. You can take your turn and then leave it and then come back later and, it'll update with the next turn.
Which is just great exposure for any sort of game. I think if more tabletop games could do that sort of thing.
But at the same time, I'm also aware that there are other games that have apps, and he's not played those more than any other games. He's played this one.
Yeah.
And I think it's perhaps these elements. Like, yes, Dominion is a great game. Yes, Dominion has some really good experiences to it. But I think this game just adds in that extra element of the unknown and the uncertain. And I've been doing some reading recently where that uncertainty in games, some people are theorizing, is actually what creates that love and that connection with the game. Like, we actually as humans connect more with the uncertainty, and that's not complete randomness. That's different to randomness. Randomness is you roll a die and it may come up as 6.
Something will happen.
Yeah, and so it can be a part of that. But the uncertainty is, even in a chess game, from the first move, it's uncertain what the end result will be.
But you are aware of what you're doing. You are making informed decisions. Just like in this, you are making purchases. You are choosing certain cards. You're not sure whether or not they're going to be the ones to win, but you're damn sure that they're going to be the ones to help you do it.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think it does develop from Dominion really well. I think it has some extra mechanics which really tap into those those CCG players, the love that we have for our deck building construction, our interaction with cards. And I think it just does it really well. Yeah. I think it's a development, and it shows perhaps really more than anything that to have a great game, to be genuinely innovative, you don't need to come up with the new, most out-of-the-box thinking ideas. You just need to take something and do it well, and to make it your own. I mean, these guys didn't develop the deck builder game, but they made it their own.
Yeah. And
they did it well. They just thought it through and they did it well. So I think in some senses that's highly laudable. I think a lot of games, especially as neophytes ourselves, looking to develop our own game, it's not for us at this level especially to try and come up with an entirely new mechanic that no one's ever thought of, but maybe just to find a few mechanics that we like and enjoy, and to find a way to do them that is
a little more interesting for us as players.
It makes it our own, and so long as we do it well and we're elegant in our design, it's likely that other people will enjoy playing it with us.
Yep. Certainly the point that I like most about Ascension is that it is a more complex game. It is a higher strategy affair, and it does require a little bit more experience. If you can get players together around the table for a good game of Ascension, I prefer it far more than Dominion personally.
Yeah, I quite like it. I don't know if I prefer it to Dominion. I think I could do one or the other without an issue though. Like, I don't think, if someone said, "Oh, let's not play Dominion tonight, let's play Ascension," I'd be like, "Yeah, sure, let's do it." So for me, it's neither here nor there, but both are very, very good, and I'd be very happy to play either.
Yeah, both well earning their spot on the list.
Yeah, definitely. But look, that's all we've got time for. Thanks for watching. My name's Dave Adams.
I'm Ricky Sherwood.
You've been watching The Core Mechanic.